Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. Today, we're going to be talking about the 7 steps to hit any goal. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast long enough, you've heard me do versions of something like this in the past, but I just realized this episode is going to be coming out 6 months into the year, which means we have another 6 months till the end of this year, which is kind of bonkers that I can't believe we're halfway through this year. But really what it comes down to is, now that we're 6 months into the year, what happened the first 6 months? Like if we think of our New Year's resolutions, our goals for this year of 2023, how are we pacing towards them? Most of the time, I find that most people are behind pace of their goals. And a lot of times is because they didn't set their goals correctly. They're not executing them properly because of that. So I'm going to give you my 7 steps to actually hit any goal. It's very simple, and I've been using this for 13 years. I actually got the first 6 steps from the book Think and Grow Rich, and I've honestly never found anything better to try to achieve your goals with. So there's a 7th step to hit your goal that I like to use as well. And so let's dive into it. Let's think about real quick, before we dive into the 7 steps, let's look back and look forward. This is a process I love to do. Is I do it every single week. I look back on how last week went, and I look forward on what's coming up this week. Well, now that we're halfway through the goal, let's look back on this year so far and see, what do we do well? What do we need to improve on all that? And then let's look forward and make some adjustments. And the way that you want to look back and look forward is to go through this process. It's called stop, start, continue. So you look back on the past 6 months and you ask yourself, and you write this down. So if you have pen and paper, please do this. And you can pause me. I'll be here forever, and you can unpause me whenever you want to. But you look back and you go through stop, start, continue. So over the course of 2023, what do I need to stop doing? Maybe like, well, you know what I need to stop doing? I need to stop sleeping in. Maybe that's one of the things you need to stop doing. Okay, you need to stop sleeping in. What else do you need to stop doing? You need to stop eating potato chips late at night. I don't know what it is, right? What do you need to stop doing? You look back and figure out, what do you need to stop doing? Then you say, what do I need to start doing? So going into the next 6 months that we have, what do I need to start doing? You know what I need to do that will probably make it easier for me to stop waking up so late? Stop going to bed so late. Maybe I need to start going to bed an hour earlier. I need to stop watching Netflix. I need to turn my phone off at this time. Maybe you need to have a program on your computer so that at this time your computer doesn't allow you to access Netflix or to go and work or do any of that type of stuff. What do you need to stop doing? What do you need to start doing? And then what do you need to continue doing? Also looking back, like, what have you done well so far this year that you need to continue doing? So you look back, look forward, and you go through stop, start, continue. What do you need to stop doing? What do you need to start doing? What do you need to continue doing? That is the first step to this, because what we want to do is we want to take what's been working, what's not been working, make the adjustments that we need to, and now we need to start planning the rest of this year, okay? Here's the 6 steps plus the 7th step on how to achieve and hit any goal. Number 1 is you want to fixate your mind on exactly what it is that you want. And what do I mean by fixate your mind? You need to get very, very clear on exactly what it is that you want. Most people are like, well, I want to make more money. I want to lose some weight. That sucks, if I'm being honest. You have to become very clear. How much money do you want to make? How much weight do you want to lose? You have to become very, very clear. So instead of saying like, I want to lose some weight, well, if you lose 1 pound over the next 6 months, then you hit your goal. No, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to weigh 185 pounds and I want to be at 7% body fat. To me, that sounds like you're much more clear on what it is that you want. And the more clear that you are on exactly what it is that you want, the more likely you are to see it and you are to hit it. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's like if you and I are at a shooting range, and you have on, I have on glasses that are not the correct prescription for me, and I'm trying to hit something 100 yards away. I'm looking at something 100 yards away, and it's very unclear. Do I have a better chance of hitting it, or you, if you have the perfect prescription for your eyes? You do. Why? Because you can see it better. So the more that you can get more clear on your goals, you can see it better, you're more likely to hit it. And so when you write your goals down, you got to become very, very clear. And just ask yourself, write your goal down, figure out what it is, and then say, can I get more clear than what I currently have? So that's step number 1. Get really, really clear on what you want to do for the rest of this year. The next 6 months, what do you want the next 6 months to look like? Okay. The second thing and this is my favorite one, is to determine exactly what you intend to give up in order to achieve that goal. Like most of the time we think about what we need to do in order to hit goals, but we never think about what we need to give up in order to hit those goals. And really what it comes down to is when you're saying yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to losing weight, you're going to have to say no to a lot of shit that you've been saying yes to for a long time. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to losing those 10 pounds over the next 6 months, you might have to, once again, say no to eating potato chips late at night. Hey, you probably should say no to potato chips, period, because they're not helping you. So maybe you start saying no to that. You start saying no to sleeping in. You need to figure out exactly what you intend to give up in order to hit that. You might have to say no to sweets. You might have to say no to having a 6-pack on the weekends. Figure out what you intend to give up in order to achieve it. The fact that a lot of people that I've found when they're setting goals think that they could just hit their goals and not have to change a lot of things in their life is crazy. In order for you to hit your goals, you're going to have to change things. And if you're not willing to change things, you're also not willing to hit your goals. And so that's really what it comes down to. So you have to determine, okay, if I want to lose these 10 pounds, if I want to weigh 185, I want to get to 7% body fat, I need to give up X, Y, and Z. So determine what you're willing to give up. Number 3 is you have to figure out a date that you're going to hit it by. So if it's by the end of this year, then it would be 12/31/23, right? Establish a definite date that you're going to hit it by of when you're going to hit this goal, because a goal without a deadline is just simply a dream. Hey, if you're loving this episode, please do me a really big favor. Down below, hit that like button. And then if you have other topics you want me to cover in future episodes, just comment it down below so I can see what you guys want me to talk about. If you have a goal and you don't put a deadline to it, it's a dream. And to be honest with you, if you don't put a deadline to it, there's really no reason to start working harder at it. It's the same way of what makes life so amazing? Death. That's what makes it so amazing. And you might be like, well, death scares the shit out of me. Well, the thing that gives your life purpose, that gives your life meaning, and that gives your life urgency is knowing that one day you will die, right? So it's like we need a definite date that we're going to hit it by, so then it gives us a reason to work harder for that goal. So I'm going to hit that goal by, let's just say 12/31/23. So you have to figure out the exact date, okay? And now what you need to do, step 4, so that was step 3, is to create a plan for how you're going to hit that goal, and you need to start immediately. You have to start immediately. So you create a plan. Okay, my goal, is, as we said, lose 10 pounds, weigh 185, be 7% body fat. Okay, you got to figure out what you're going to give up. You've got the date, but now you actually got to come up with a plan. So, figure it out. Okay, I'm going to do my meal prepping every single Sunday. I'm going to meal prep for the entire week. I'm going to start to weigh some stuff out. I'm going to make sure that I have my breakfast, lunch, and dinner planned out. I'm going to have my snacks planned out. I'm going to plan out every single Sunday, not only my food, but I'm also going to plan out my exact workout plan. I'm going to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm going to do this workout on Monday, this workout on Wednesday, this workout on Friday, and I'm going to run 2 miles every Saturday and every Sunday. I don't know what it is, but you have to come up with the actual plan. It's wild to me how many people set goals and then come up with no plan. That's like getting in your car and being like, well, I want to drive to Houston, and then just fucking driving. Like no GPS, no compass, just, if I drive long enough, eventually I'll end up in Houston. No, it doesn't work that way. Like, you've got to come up with a plan. Same way that your GPS needs to know, a couple different things. It needs to know 2 things really: where you are and where you want to go. And then it creates the plan from there. Well, you know where you are. Now what we've been talking about so far is where you want to go. Well, now let's create the actual route, knowing that there will be adjustments made, knowing that there may be a detour needed at some point in time. Come up with a plan of how you're going to hit your goals. So that's number 4. Number 5, and this is a very, very important piece that a lot of people don't do, is you need to write a clear and concise statement for exactly what you want, when you're going to get it by, what you're going to give up, and how you're going to get there. And so you take number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, and you condense it all into a 4 to 5 sentence statement, like a mission statement. And you write it out, and it's clear and concise. Edit it, make it perfect. 5 sentences max. It's got to be clear. It's got to be concise for exactly what it is that you want, when you're going to hit it by, what you're going to give up, and then also what you're going to do to get there. So it would say something like, I, Rob Dial, am going to lose 10 pounds by December 31st, 2023. I'm going to weigh 10%, I'm going to have 7% body fat. I'm going to weigh 185 pounds. And here is a printout of the picture of the person who has the body that I want. The way that I'm going to hit this goal is XYZ. The way that I'm going to hit this goal is I'm going to give up sleeping in. I'm going to give up Netflix late at night. I'm going to give up alcohol for the next 6 months. I'm going to stop eating snacks and buying snacks for the house. And I'm going to give up whatever else you want to give up. I'm going to give up partying with my friends every single weekend. Maybe I do it once a month. Come up with that. Okay, you got that. How I'm going to do it is this. And you start saying your plan. I'm going to do it by doing meal prep every single Sunday. I'm going to make sure that I eat X amount of calories every single day. I'm going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner done. So all I have to do is put it inside of my bag and take it with me to work. I'm going to make sure that I work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Monday, I'm going to do this day, and Wednesday, I'm going to do this day, and Friday, I'm going to do this day, and on Saturday, I'm going to do 2 miles, and on Sunday, I'm going to run 2 miles. Now you've got your clear and concise statement, maximum of 5 sentences. We're pretty far along the line now, aren't we? Do you feel like you're much more clear in your goal? Yes, you get much more clear, and you get much more clear, and you get much more clear. The more clear it is, the more that you can see it, the more that you can track it, the more likely you are to hit it. And then number 6 is to take that statement and to read it out loud to yourself twice a day, every single morning and every single evening. Now, why do you want to read out loud to yourself? Because one of the things that I've found with people of why they don't hit their goals, besides lack of clarity, lack of planning, all of that stuff, is they simply just forget about it. Like if I go to 50% of the people who listen to this podcast and be like, hey, what was your New Year's resolution? You're going to be like, well, I think it, and a lot of people actually forget what their New Year's resolution was. So if you read it to yourself every single morning and every single evening, you're not going to forget what it is, but you're also going to basically set your sights on what it is that you're trying to achieve every single day. The way that I like to do this is to recommend something called habit stacking. Habit stacking means that you do something that you're already doing that is a habit, and you stack your new habit on top of it. And so an example of what this would look like is hopefully you're brushing your teeth every single morning and every single evening. But as soon as you get done brushing your teeth, since it's already a staple, it's already something that you do, that's a habit, you stack a new habit with it. So as soon as you get done brushing your teeth, you wash out your mouth, you put your toothbrush down, you pick up your mission statement, and you read it out loud to yourself. Then you go on about your day. Then in the evening, you brush your teeth. When you get done with it, you wash your mouth out, you take your mission statement, and you read it out loud to yourself again right when you get done. So you're constantly reminding yourself of it. So that's the 6 steps that they give you in the book Think and Grow Rich. Now, number 7, which is the one that I like, every time I used to have one-on-one coaching clients, we would set goals. And then I would ask this question, and I think this is a very important question. How can you make it easier on yourself? Now that you've got the plan, you've got everything that you want, how can you make it easier on yourself? And the reason why I like to ask this question is because a lot of times, I have found myself in this position many times, is we think that in order to be successful, we have to struggle our way to success. Like success has to be hard. It has to be, putting our head down and just bashing it into a wall and bashing it. And we have to struggle our way to success. What I have found is it doesn't have to be that way. If we think we're going to struggle to success, we will definitely struggle to success. There's no doubt about it. But if we think we can make this easier on ourselves, how can I make this easier on myself? We keep asking ourselves that over and over and over again. We start looking at our goals and we start shifting it to make it easier. How can I make it easier to wake up early? Go to bed earlier. How can I make it easier to plan out my meal plan? Maybe you hire somebody to do your meal planning for you. Maybe you get one of those meal services and they send them all to you and they scale it all out and you can afford to do that. Whatever it is, how can you take your goals and make them easier? You don't have to struggle your way to success. It doesn't have to be hard all of the time. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself. And so you go through these 6 different steps, add the 7th one, how you can make it easier. So step number 1, figure out exactly what it is that you want and get very, very clear. Step number 2, figure out exactly what you're willing to give up in order to hit your goal. Number 3, figure out a definite date you're going to hit it by. Number 4, come up with a plan, very clear plan of exactly how you're going to do it. Number 5, write a clear and concise statement that you're going to have that summarizes number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 6, you read that statement out loud to yourself every single morning and every single evening. And then step number 7, constantly keep asking yourself, how can I make it easier to hit this goal? So that's what I got for you for this episode. Now you know what you need to do to hit your remaining of the year goals for the next 6 months. Take this episode, put some stuff on paper, start to work through it, and start to work towards your goals. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Once again, we don't have any massive companies pushing this out there. We don't have any news publications pushing it out there. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys sharing it. Absolute grassroots. That's how we went from literally just a tiny little podcast to one of the top 100 in the world. So if you love this podcast, you think other people should hear it, just do me a favor. Share it on your Instagram so that more people can start becoming aware of it. And with that, I'm going to leave it the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing, amazing day. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another one of these podcast episodes. And if you love this podcast, you want some extra mindset tips and tricks to help you get better, go to mondayemail.com right now. Once again, mondayemail.com. It's absolutely free. And what I do is every single Monday, I will send you an email with what I'm working on and what you can work on to reprogram yourself to work through everything that you want to work through, but also optimize yourself to be the best you possibly can. So speaking of that, today we're going to be talking about how to rewire your anxious brain. So is it possible to rewire anxiety out of your brain? Well, maybe not fully. I'm going to say that up front. Like, there's no destination. A lot of people think like, oh, I've been working on myself for so long, I'm not there yet. And it's like, there is no there. The journey of life, the journey of working on yourself, all of this stuff is what we're here to do, I believe. So we're working on ourselves. We're trying to become better. There is no there. There is no destination. There is no waking up. In my opinion, there is no waking up and being like, oh my God, I have no anxiety. I have no stress. I have no fear. The world is perfect and it will be perfect forever. Nothing can get me out of this, right? I don't know. That might be like a monk could get there, but I ain't a monk and I probably am never going to get there, but I will enjoy this journey of working on myself. And so when we talk about rewiring, I mean rewiring in a case of like having a whole lot less. But also what's really important is understanding your brain, where this anxiety could be coming from. And I'm going to talk about 2 different regions of your brain so that you can actually start to diagnose where this is coming from and what the best strategy is to stop the anxiety as quick as you possibly can. Sound good? If you've ever felt anxiety, this should definitely help you. Anxiety comes from your thoughts. That's one thing that we know. It comes from your thoughts in some sort of way. And, people say like, oh, they have anxiety and all this stuff. Anxiety is one of the most unknown things that sadly is actually diagnosed by doctors. And a lot of people are misdiagnosed with depression or with anxiety. And there's definitely people who might need some help, but a lot of people don't realize that they can actually work through this a lot with your brain and knowing this. The cool thing that I love is I love when I work with people. I worked with them in the past and like I got off my medication. I love when my clients who, I teach coaches how to grow coaching businesses. I love when they hear from their clients, my clients' clients, they're like, I got off of medication. I feel so much better. I'm so much happier, all of that stuff. So anxiety comes from your thoughts. It comes from your thoughts. And usually it's about something happening in the future. It's some future that you're projecting into. Last episode, we talked about the future that we project ourselves into. And humans can imagine a future, and we can imagine amazing, beautiful, incredible futures, or we can imagine futures that just really suck. And so I'm going to talk to you about the 2 major brain circuits that you have, where anxiety might be coming from with those, and then how to actually get rid of the anxiety. Sound good? So there's 2 major brain circuits that you have. The first one is called the neocortex. The neocortex is the much more advanced brain circuit. And anxiety, in this case, is the anticipation of something happening in the future. It is the anticipation of something happening in the future. It is the anticipation of, oh, my girlfriend hasn't been texting me back that much. We're going to go to dinner tonight. and I'm worried that she's going to break up with me. And I'm anxious about the fact that she's going to break up with me when we go to dinner tonight because of this. And your brain can create, if you ask, oh my gosh, why would my girlfriend possibly break up with me? Your brain's going to come up with a list, because whatever you ask of your brain, it will come up with the answers to. So if you ask, like, why would she not be happy? Why could she be cheating on me? Why could she want to break up? Your brain's going to type it into your brain Google, into the drive, and it's going to go, and it's going to give you all of the answers as to why that's a possibility. And then you're going to feel anxious because you're imagining that future happening. Humans can imagine a future. That's awesome. If we use it correctly. We imagine the future. The wrong thing, the thing that sucks most of the time, is the problem. And so we can have anxiety-inducing thoughts. Maybe you get into a car accident, and that sucks. You get into a car accident, or maybe you've been in a car accident 6 months ago. And every time you get into a car, subconsciously and sometimes consciously, it just comes up. Anxiety comes up. Why? Because you're thinking not about the past car accident. You're thinking about getting into this car, going for a drive, and getting to an accident on this drive. So you can have anxiety-inducing thoughts based off of maybe something that happened to you in the past, and you're taking your past and you're throwing it into your future and going, oh my gosh, this could happen to me right now. Or you're having anxiety-inducing thoughts about something that's never happened before, but you're throwing it into your future and you're feeling it, right? You can think to yourself, oh yeah, but like one of the things that I love is when I'm not at home, we have a whole security system, ring system, all of that stuff. And when I'm not home, my fiance will literally turn on the ring at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, because she gets all ready for bed. She takes the dog and goes to the room, and she watches Netflix in there because she doesn't want to be in the living room because we have big, huge glass walls. She doesn't want to be in the living room because she's feeling that people might be able to watch her, right? So you can have that feeling of like, you're by yourself, and you hear like a little noise, and you think, oh my God, someone's starting to break in. Someone's going to break in. What if I get murdered? And what happens is it starts, and if you've ever noticed this, it's like a cascade. Like the thoughts can keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And then your brain is literally noticing every single sound because you have basically put your focus on the sound of someone breaking in. And then you start hearing everything. You think someone's breaking in all over the place. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been this way. I don't like spiders, but you see a spider or you see an insect or something like that. And then you start to feel all of, like, even just your hair when it moves a little bit, and you start thinking it's like an insect. You start to think it's a bug. You start to think it's a arachnid, whatever it might be. There's something on it. You start to feel it all because your brain is focusing on that thing. And so then we got to ask ourselves, why does this exist? Why does this part of our brain, why does this anxiety, this future that we don't want exist? Well, it's a protection mechanism. Your brain doesn't care about your happiness. It doesn't care about your peace. It doesn't care about your success. It doesn't give a damn how much money is in your bank account. It cares about keeping you alive. And so what it'll do is it'll notice things, and then it will start to make connections among all the other things that could possibly line up with that. Like you hear a sound, think someone's breaking in, and then you just hear all sounds. It just hones in on the auditory part of your brain, and you start to notice that. Or you feel something, maybe you have a spider on you, and you push it off, and you start to feel spiders all over the place. That happens. And so there was a benefit for our ancestors, but today, if we're not in charge of it, it'll drive us crazy. And so why does it exist? If you go back to the cavemen days and you're walking by a river and you're having a little caveman conversation with your buddy Bill, and he's a caveman as well, you're walking by the river and then bam, an alligator jumps out from the bank, attacks him, and ruthlessly just ravages and tears Bill apart. Holy shit, that was drastic, huh? Well, then now what's going to happen is every single time that you walk by a lake, you're probably going to start to feel feelings of anxiety. Every time that you see an alligator, you're probably going to start to feel feelings of anxiety. Next time that you're by a lake, next time you're by a river, next time you're by a body of water, you will be more on guard than anything else because you don't want the same thing to happen to you that happened to Bill, right? Caveman Bill's gone. I don't want to be like Caveman Bill. So then the question is, how the hell do we get rid of this? Well, the neocortex, in this part that we're talking about, is the thinking part of your brain. And so what do? If you notice, okay, I'm projecting into the future, and this is definitely the thinking part of my brain that's using this, because we've got to distinguish. There's the thinking part of your brain, there's the other part of the brain I'm going to talk about in just a second. What's going on? Oh, I'm thinking about the future, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this happened. Am I thinking about this too much? Yeah, it's probably my neocortex. I'm probably thinking too much into the future and causing myself anxiety. Okay, well, if I'm thinking and using the thinking part of my brain, what do I want to do? I want to think through this process and show my brain how this fear, this anxiety that I'm feeling is actually illogical and how it doesn't make any sense. And so the easiest way to do this, if you're thinking yourself into anxiety, what can you do? Well, you can go ahead and use that thinking part of your brain and show your brain why that fear, why that anxiety is actually illogical. So you take out a pen and paper and you start writing down why that won't happen. If I'm thinking to myself, like I told you a few minutes ago, like maybe that the boss is going to email me and want to fire me. I could write down, why would it be ridiculous for my boss to fire me? Why is my boss not going to fire me? And I come up with all of the answers and I actually think through the opposite of what I'm fearing. Make sense? I'm using the thinking part of my brain, the neocortex, and I'm going to think through the opposite of what I'm fearing so that therefore my brain can go, yeah, let's go ahead and turn this off. Not a big deal. Let it go. And then you can let it go. It ends up working really, really well, but it works the best if you have pen and paper and you can actually write it down with pen and paper what's going on. So that's the first side, which is the neocortex. The other side is the amygdala, which is not really the thinking part of the brain. It is the reaction part of the brain. It is a part of the brain that is a little bit more, well, they call it it's in your limbic system, which they call the reptilian part of your brain. It's like the oldest part of your brain, one of the oldest parts of your brain. And this is a part of your brain that, you see a dark shadow at night and you think somebody is next to you or inside of your house or something like that. And you react to it. The immediate reaction is the amygdala kicking in. It's your reaction and you're like, oh my gosh, that's just my jacket. Or, you're walking outside and it's a little bit dark and you see a hose curled up and you react immediately. It's almost like subconscious. It's conscious for sure, but it's almost like subconscious as well. Like it's very fast. And you think it's a snake. But you know what that was? That was just, that was just a curled up hose on the side of the road. That's whatever it was, right? And it reacts immediately. Or, you hear a boom and your body immediately reacts and you duck down, not knowing what it was, but it's an immediate reaction. It responds quick. It's the first, the way the amygdala works and the way you want to think of it is it reacts first, asks questions later. So it's like dark shadow at night, reacts first, asks questions later. Oh, yeah, that was just my jacket. Curled up hose, reacts first. Oh, yeah, that wasn't a snake. That was just my hose that's on the side right there. Loud noise, reacts first. Oh, that was just, my cat. He knocked something off of the counter. And what happens is it responds quick, reacts first, asks questions later. It's the reason why it's really hard to talk yourself out of a panic attack. Is because usually a panic attack or, in some lower levels of PTSD come from an immediate reaction. Somebody hears something, it reminds them exactly of a past, and then they go into a panic attack in some sort of way. It's the reason why you can't talk yourself out of it, because it's not the thinking part of the brain most of the time. So the neocortex is the thinking part of the brain. Try to talk yourself out of a panic attack. It's not going to happen. The amygdala usually helps with the panic attack. A real panic attack where it's real bad is usually both of them together, the amygdala and the neocortex as well. So how do you get yourself out of that feeling? How do you get rid of it? Oh, I've noticed, okay, that is a body feeling. I reacted first, and now I'm starting to ask questions later, is you have to bypass the mind and directly affect the nervous system. Okay, you have to completely bypass the mind and directly affect the nervous system. How do you do that? One of the best ways, probably the best way to affect the nervous system is to get really drunk. No, I'm just kidding. The best way to affect the nervous system is through deep breathing, right? Just in through the nose, out through the mouth. When you exhale, you want your exhale to be like you're breathing out through a straw. The longer the exhale, the more it'll slow your heart rate down, which usually if you're reacting to something, a loud noise, whatever it might be, the first thing to change is your breath and then your heart rate. So if your heart rate is racing, it's going, that shows you that it's in the body. Okay, let's go into the body. Let's just bypass the mind directly and go straight into the body. So you can do some deep breathing. Do some deep breathing and see if that helps. Working out tends to help really well as well, because the extra energy you're actually able to get rid of. One of the things that humans don't do very well, that animals do very well, is when they're stressed, they have a physical body reaction to it. Like my dog, when he's stressed, he does like a stress yawn, and it's immediate. Like it's not 5 minutes later, it's immediate. A lot of animals, like if you watch an impala that's running away from a cheetah, they'll be running. And then what happens is, say they get away. Well, their body dumped a ton of cortisol into their body. And so they'll actually do this thing called a shake, where they'll literally shake their body. And what it's doing is it's actually removing and actually using more energy to start to get rid of the cortisol that's inside of them. Us as humans, we'll feel something, we'll freak out, something will happen, and then we'll just sit there, right? So working out sometimes is a really good way to get rid of the excess energy, the cortisol, everything that's in there as well. So you could also do Wim Hof breathing, 30 deep breaths, and then you do 30 deep breaths, take one deep breath, and do as many push-ups as you possibly can. That's one thing that really helps me reset my nervous system. And you could do this if you want. You can try it. I don't recommend it just because I don't recommend anything to anybody that happens to do with holding your breath. But what I'll do is I'll do 30 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And then what you do is you hold your breath at the end. What I do is hold my breath at the end and then do as many push-ups as I possibly can. And it feels like a reset to the nervous system. What's kind of crazy about it too is I can do more push-ups holding my breath than I can when I'm not holding my breath. So you have to decide with yourself, which part of the brain is it? When you're feeling that anxiety, is it the thinking part of your brain? Is it the neocortex? Is it you're sitting there thinking through it, you're thinking through it? Well, then maybe you have to journal through it and write it down and show your brain how illogical it is. Show how ridiculous it is. Like, oh, I'm going to post this thing on Instagram, and I get all anxious because I'm worried about people judging me online that I've never met before. That's dumb. Who cares? Let's journal through that so we can get rid of that anxiety. Or is it the other part of the mind where it's just the you feel it in the body? It's just react first, think later, ask questions later, and you start to realize that it's in the body. It's in the body. Well, if it's in the body, work with the body. Deep breathing, work out, do the 30 deep breaths, the Wim Hof breathing. Ultimately, what it's important to know is to make note of this so that therefore next time you find yourself feeling anxious and in an anxious state, you can remove yourself as quickly as possible by identifying, is this in the mind or is this more in the body? If it's in the mind, this is more in the body. If it's in the mind, it's in the neocortex. If it's in the body, even though the amygdala is in the brain, it's usually more of a physical feeling more than anything else. So now you have an idea of how to rewire your anxious brain. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And if you love this podcast, go ahead and follow us on Instagram. It is The Mindset Mentor Podcast, The Mindset Mentor Podcast. And I'm going to leave the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast episode. And if you're out there and you love this podcast and you want some extra tips and tricks to improve your mindset, go to mondayemail.com right now. It's absolutely free. Every Monday, I send out an email with my ideas and some extra stuff that I'm going to be working on in myself to improve my mindset, my life. So if you want some extra tips and tricks, just go to mondayemail.com, sign up, and I'll start emailing you every single Monday with a little bit extra mindset stuff for you. Today, we're going to be taking a really deep dive into your past and also the life that you're going to want to be creating. And we're going to talk about what is your fault in your life, what is not your fault in your life. And I want you to think about your childhood. I want you to think about all of the things that happened to you, all the good things that happened to you, all of the bad things that happened to you, your parents, the way that they raised you, whether it was the way that you wanted to be raised or wasn't, or whether you got what you wanted to from them or you didn't, or you got the love that you wanted or you didn't, or you got the schooling you wanted or you didn't, or your teachers took care of you or they didn't, or you got bullied or you didn't. I want you to think of everything that happened to you in your childhood. It could have been good. It could have been bad. It could have been just meh. It could have been just MEH. Meh. It could have just been that way, right? If you were poor, it wasn't your fault if you were born poor. But if you die poor, it is your fault. Now, maybe you don't want to be rich. Maybe you don't care to be. But there's a phrase that I've seen that I think it was Bill Gates that said it, but maybe it was somebody else. That maybe he's just been credited. But he said, if you were born poor, it's not your fault. If you die poor, it is your fault. And so when we're talking about this, I want to talk about what is your fault and what's your responsibility. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. So all of the things that happened to you in your past, when you were a child, before you moved out, before you started actually being able to make your own decisions, all that stuff. None of those things are your fault. None of them. Your parents, situations, where you lived, how you were born, your race, your gender. None of those things are your fault. Those are just cards that you were dealt throughout your life. Maybe you were born to, parents that had really bad anger issues. And you got maybe some anger from that. Maybe you learned some things from it. Maybe you became a certain person. Not maybe, you definitely became a certain person because of the way that you were raised by those parents. If you were born to parents with anger issues, that's not your fault. But if you continue to be angry or hold on to something into the future, that is your fault. It is your responsibility now that you're an adult. When you were an adult, it is now your responsibility that whatever you were given as a child, whatever happened to you as a child, wasn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to now work through. One of the things I think is very hard about life is that hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, there used to be rites of passage, which basically meant like you were a boy or you were a girl, and now you're stepping into being a man or being a woman. We don't really have those in most societies anymore. Like me growing up in America, I didn't have a rite of passage to go, Rob, you are now a man. And it's not something, usually it was like a rite of passage was like something hard, something strenuous. Some cultures, it was like they'd give you mushrooms and you'd have to go on a crazy mushroom journey and work with a shaman. And then eventually when you worked with them, then they would eventually say, hey, now you're a man. There's some crazy rites of passage, which I don't recommend. There's one of them that I saw where they take these fire ants. I think it was over in Africa somewhere. They take these fire ants and they make these gloves. No joke. They make these gloves and they literally like fill them with fire ants. In order for a boy to become a man in this tribe, they have to put their hands in with these pissed off fire ants and leave it in there for like 3 or 4 minutes. And they, if they take their hands out, they didn't pass whatever that is. And now they're not a man yet. And so they have to do this thing that is really hard and really intense. And then from there, they go through some sort of passage that they go through. We don't really have to go through something like that. And maybe that's good, maybe it's not, but there's no way to figure out, okay, I was a boy, now I'm a man. Okay, I was a girl, now I'm a woman. So there's no real way for us as adults nowadays to go, oh, this thing that happened to me when I was young, now it's my responsibility to fix. Now it's my responsibility to get past. If you're, like I said, born with parents that have anger issues, that's not your fault, but anything that came from that you now have or need to work through is your responsibility. If you were born to really unhappy people, anything that you got from that is not your fault, but it is your responsibility now to work through. If you were born in really bad circumstances, maybe you're born in a really poor place, or you're born in a country that was ridden by war, any of those things, none of those are your fault. But now that you're an adult and you're listening to this, whatever you're still holding on to, whatever you need to work past is your responsibility to work past. And so we have to be very aware of things that are not our fault, but they are our responsibility to work past. If you're born into a family with very little love, that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to figure out how to work through to create the best life you can from it. If you were a foster child, that's not your fault. None of those things are your fault, but that's the cards that you've been dealt. That is your responsibility now to work through and to create the best version of yourself from those circumstances. All of those things are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. And the thing that I think most people need to really settle into, like deep into their bones and every single one of their 40 trillion cells, is that you were dealt the hands that you were dealt. It's your job to figure out how you're going to play that hand. You cannot change your hand. Imagine if you're at the casino, you're playing blackjack, and you look at your cards and they're crap cards. You can't get pissed off at the dealer and be like, give me new cards. You're going to be like, no, this is the hand. This is the hand that you're playing. You've got to figure out the right way to play it. Do you hit? Do you double down? Do you fold? What do you do? It is your job to figure out. You can't change the cards. You were dealt the hand that you were dealt. You cannot change them. And some people live their whole life pissed off as an adult about something that happened in their childhood. They're still pissed off at their parents. They're still pissed off at teachers. They're still pissed off at circumstances. They're still pissed off at the government, at the president. They're still pissed off as if they're a little kid that doesn't have control anymore. You have control. It is your responsibility to build the life that you want to build regardless of the circumstances that you were born into. It is your responsibility to create the life that you want. Because I'm going to say this, and I hope this gets deep down in your bones. No one's coming to save you. Nobody. The government definitely ain't coming to save you. There's no knight in shining armor that's going to come and save you and change your life. You have to be the one to go, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. Because there's too many people holding on to the past and thinking about the past and saying the past is the reason why I am the way that I am. And the past gets in the way of them creating a great life. They're pissed at their parents for not giving them the love that they wanted, or not teaching them how to be financially successful, or not teaching them to read and get great at reading and being smart and intellectual. They're pissed off at society for the way that they've been treated. They're pissed off that they were born in a certain country, that they were born a certain sex, that they were born a certain skin color, they were born a certain sexual preference. Whatever it is that we have. And that's it. Like for me, I've gone through this and I've really thought about this a lot for myself, because there was a time in my life where I was really fucking pissed at my dad. I was really pissed that he would, in my mind when I was younger, I was thinking I was pissed because I was thinking that he was so selfish. Instead of being a great father and taking care of myself and my sister and my mom, that he decided that he was going to go and drink and spend his time drinking and, forget to pick me up a lot of times and treat me the way that I was treated. And I was pissed thinking that, I'm pissed that he was this way. And then I was pissed after he passed away when I was 15 because he had liver failure and I knew all of the stuff that was happening. I was pissed at him. I was pissed at the circumstances. And then at some point in time, I realized I can't do shit about that. He is the way that he is. He was the way that he was. He did die. That was the cards that I was dealt. I'm not going to get a different father. He's not going to come back from the dead. None of these things are going to happen. I have to be able to go, you know what? This is what I got. This is my ground level. This is where I got to start it from here. And we've got to look at it and go, you know what? This is the life that I have. However I am, however I feel, whatever's inside of me, whatever I've learned, whether I like it or I don't like it, I have to deal with it. It is my responsibility to build the life that I want to, regardless of the fact that I was raised by an alcoholic father that passed away when I was 15. It happened. Shit happens. That's the one that God said, you know what Rob needs? The way I like to think of it in my head is before I was just placed onto this earth, God or the universe or whatever it is that's out there that's keeping this whole thing running, was you know what? This Rob Dial guy, you know what he needs? He needs an alcoholic father. And the reason why he needs an alcoholic father is because he's got a lot of lessons that are going to help him later on in life that he needs to be responsible for finding, extracting, and using for better and for good in his life. That's the way I look at it. This is what I've been given. This is what I signed up for. I took this life. Can't change the cards. We have to realize that we've been dealt the cards we've been dealt, and we have to work past this now. It's not our fault. It's not my fault that my father's an alcoholic, but it is my responsibility to create an amazing life regardless of that. And because of that, right? And we could be pissed about it, the cards our entire lives, or we can just go ahead and do it because the cards are not going to change them. We have to go, okay, this is it. This shit show is my life. This is my starting point. Where do I want to go from here? And we have to accept it. We have to move on. What do we need to do? We need to figure out what it is that we need to create. We need to pull up our britches and we need to get to work. And that's what we have to do. I'm here. This isn't where I want to be. I wish it would have been a little bit different. I wish I would have had an amazing life and these things would have happened and these things would have happened and these things would have happened. But this isn't what I got. So I do still want an amazing life. Maybe the past wasn't amazing, but it doesn't mean the future can't be amazing. It doesn't mean that I can't make an amazing life out of it. And then from there, we go over 3 different things. 3 very simple things that will help you create this life that you want. Is you have to know a few different things. Number 1, where you are. Number 2, where you want to be. Number 3, what you have to do. And so, where are you? If you're out there and you've been pissed your entire life and you've been so pissed about the way that you were raised and what your parents did and how they were shitty parents maybe, or maybe they were okay parents, but they didn't give you what you wanted, or maybe they didn't treat you the right way, or maybe they didn't treat each other the right way and they treated you fine, but then you witnessed the way that they treated each other. Where are you now? If you just woke up and you went, okay, this is the level called for me. This is a level called Rob Dial. And I'm just planted into this moment right now. And I'm like, okay, it's a video game. Okay, this is what happened in the past. These are all of these things. Where are you? Okay, this is where I am right now. I'm in all of this. This is all the stuff that happened to me in the past. This is where I am. Let me take an assessment of where I am in my life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Let me figure out where I am in my relationships. Let me figure out where I am. And you have to be real about where you are, about these cards that you're holding on to, because you have to look at them and be like, okay, these are the cards that I have. You know what I wanted? I wanted a king ace, but how the fuck did I get a 3-6, right? Like, you guys that have played blackjack before have been like, what? God, I wanted a king ace. Well, I was dealt the 3-6 offsuit. Damn it. All right, I guess I've got to work with this 3-6 offsuit. Got to figure out what to do from here. So there's where you are. I'm holding a freaking 3-6, all right? And there's where you want to be. And you figure out the life that you want to have in 12 months. Shit, you can do 6 months if you want to. Make it closer so it's not so far away. What do you want in 6 months? What do you want in a year? What do you want in 5 years? What do you want in 10 years? When you die, what do you want your life to have looked like and your life to have been? And you need to know in detail, because the more detail that you can bring to this, the more that you can actually start to see it and work towards it, right? So you need to know where you are, make a true assessment of where you are. All the things that happened to you in the past, just mark them off as not your fault. Okay, that's the way that is. Going into the future, I have decided I'm going to make a decision today. And decision comes from the root word decadere. And decadere means to literally cut off everything. Cut off the entire past of what it was and all of the fault and blame that I placed on other people. I'm going to cut it off right now. And I'm going to cut off my old version of myself, who I thought I was, all of this stuff. I'm going to cut it off right now. I'm going to step into a brand new version of myself today. I'm going to make that decision, which, once again, decision comes from the root word decadere, which means to cut off. I'm going to cut it off. Cool? It's where you are, where you want to be. And now stepping into where I want to be, I want to know in detail, as much detail as I possibly can, of what I want to create in the life that I want. And I need to write it down. I need to get clear on it. And I need to think about it every single day. And then from there, when we know where we are, which is right here, and we know where we want to be, which is right here, we start figuring out, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And you actually make a plan of the action steps that need to be done. You need to do it. Once again, like I said, no one's going to come and save you. No one is going to come and build the life that you want for you. Fuck, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be amazing if somebody came in and just built our life for us and we could just sit on Netflix and sit around watching Netflix and eating ice cream and taking little nappies? That'd be great. What if we could do that? But it's not happening. No one's coming to save you. Try it. Try sitting on your couch, watching Netflix all day long, eating ice cream and taking little nappies, and see how that works for you. It ain't happening. No one's going to come and build this life. You have to build it. It is now your responsibility. You got to pull up your britches and get dirty. That's all that you can do. You got to get to work to create the life that you want to. Because it's really important. And the point of today's episode is not to give you tips and tricks on how to improve and how to fix this. The point of today's episode is to say, hey, if you're one of the people who's been blaming everybody, if you're 32 years old and you're still blaming everybody, you've got to be an adult at some point in time and be like, I've got to get my shit together, because it's nobody's fault anymore. It was their fault up until like 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. But once I moved out or once something else happened, it all became my fault. It all became my responsibility. And what we need to do, if we're going to be adults and create the life that we want to, is we need to be the one to do it. If you want to create the life that you want to, regardless of the circumstances you were given in your life, what you were raised with, good, bad, indifferent, meh, whether it was meh or whether it was great, whatever it was, you were given it, you've got to put in the work to create the life that you want. Your past was not your fault. Your present moment and into your future is your responsibility. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And if you also love Instagram and you want to follow this podcast on Instagram, we put a bunch of behind the scenes and extra clips and some clips from this podcast as well on that Instagram, so I can fill your news feed with my face and positive and motivational mindset tips and tricks as well. So if you want to follow me on there, it is the Mindset Mentor Podcast. Once again, the Mindset Mentor Podcast on Instagram. And I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. If you don't like cussing, this is not the episode for you, because I am going to probably say the word bullshit quite a lot, right? I'm going to talk to you about how to stop all the bullshit, how to stop all of the BS that goes on in your mind that is so ridiculously unnecessary, and it's holding you back from creating the life that you want. And I'm going to give you one tip that one of my mentors gave me a few years ago that works so well. It's so ridiculously simple, but it works so well when you're trying to get yourself out of the moment, out of overthinking, out of anxious thoughts, anxious feelings, all of that. One of the things, though, that I hear the most from people on why they're not doing what they need to do or taking the right action to build the life that they want to, one of the things that I hear the most from those people who say that is because of something that's going on in their mind. They are basically thinking about their fears. They're thinking about their negative self-talk. They're thinking about the negative outcomes that could happen. And so it's really interesting. The longer that I work in mindset, the simpler that it becomes and the more that I can start to see these patterns in people. And whenever somebody's dealing with something where they are not taking action, they're self-sabotaging, they don't have the life that they want, very, and I mean very, very rarely, is it reality that's the problem. Like 99.99999% of the time, it's what that person is thinking. There's a story that's going on in their head, and that thing is the actual problem. It's something that's going on in their mind. And so basically, here's what's happening, right? And I talk about this kind of in the book, my book, Level Up. I kind of talk about this where it's like we're all creating, we wake up in the morning, and reality is perfectly fine. It's okay. We have food, water, shelter, clothing, a few people that love us. But what we do is we wake up in the morning and we create all of our fears and all of our limiting beliefs that are not actually there in reality. They're in our mind and we act like they are in reality. And so basically every single morning we wake up and we create the boogeyman, which is our fears, our limiting beliefs. We create the boogeyman. He's not really there. And then instead of actually doing what we need to do to create the life that we want, we spend majority of our energy fighting the boogeyman. And the boogeyman is not even actually there. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Like we spend the majority of our energy thinking about our fears, thinking about our limiting beliefs, overthinking, all of that stuff, versus actually just taking the action that we need to. So we wake up in the morning, we create the boogeyman, we fight the boogeyman all day long, and then we go to sleep. And we wake up in the morning and we create the boogeyman. And when we wake up in the morning and we create them and we fight them all day long and we use all of our energy thinking and worrying and fears and limiting beliefs. And I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I'm smart enough, all of those things versus just going, hey, I'm in my head. I need to get out of here. I need to create the life that I want. How do I do so? We're always in our mind. It's the overthinking. It's the negative self-talk. It's too many fears in our heads. It's afraid of what the future might hold. It's being scared of not being accepted. It's being scared of being judged, other people's opinions, not wanting to stand out, blah, 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 blah. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's not real. It's not in reality. It's not here, but you're acting like it's here and you're acting like it's in reality. Like 99.9% of the people listening right now, you are your own worst enemy. You are. Your thoughts. You need to be able to start to change them. And that's what we're going to talk about today as well. And because these thoughts are going on in their heads and might be going on in your head, we wake up and we think about those thoughts instead of actually doing the thing to create the future that we want. I want you to understand where you currently are in your life right now is because of all of your actions in the past. That's the first thing that needs to be accepted before we go any further, right? Where you are right now is based off of all of the actions that you currently made in your past. There is no one else to blame. So hopefully you're not playing victim, you're not playing the blame game, because if you are, then there's nothing we can do to help you because you're just going to blame everybody else and not take any responsibility. So as soon as you decide to take responsibility, well, now we can actually start to work through this and make changes. If you like where you are, it's because you took the right actions. So if you don't like where you are, it's because you took the wrong actions. If you do like where you are, it's because you took the right actions. It's pretty simple. Life is very black and white. Either you get the life that you want to, or you don't. Your actions are going to decide which one you end up at. If you don't like where you are, it's because you took the wrong actions. If you like where you are, it's because you took the right actions, right? And everybody, I understand, has different life circumstances. Some people started off worse than other people. Some people started off in the middle. Some people started off better than other people, right? Yeah, that happened, right? That's just the way that it is. You can't do anything about it, but it is your responsibility that whatever hand you were dealt in life, it is your responsibility to do something with it. And if you think about all of your worries and fears and limiting beliefs and overthinking, all of that stuff is in your head. None of it's in reality, but you think that it is because it feels like it is, but it's not. It's false. It's in the mind. It's not physical. It's not in reality. So let me give you a tip. The thing that I want you to do is when you notice yourself bullshitting yourself, when you're BSing and you notice yourself overthinking, you notice yourself negative self-talk, you notice yourself being fearful, worrying too much, self-limiting beliefs, whatever it might be, what I want you to do is start talking to yourself out loud in the moment, as if you're talking to somebody else. This works so well. You might seem kind of crazy. Who gives a damn? What I want you to do is start talking to yourself out loud. Let me explain, okay? Sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I'll have a thought sometimes I'll pop into my head about work or my to-do list or whatever it is. And once my brain clicks into that mode, it's off like a racehorse. Like it's really hard for me to turn my brain off once I get into work, when I get into to-do lists, when I get into that, all the stuff I need to do, what's going on tomorrow, what I forgot to do, ideas. And sometimes I've sat in bed and I've been laying for like 2 hours and my brain has just been going and I'm like, damn it, like I should be sleeping right now. And one of my mentors gave me this tip, and this is how I started creating this a few years ago, is to say out loud to yourself, to your brain, not right now. When your brain goes off on a tangent that you don't want it to, say not right now. And it sounds stupid. And when he first told it to me, I was like, it's stupid. But guess what? It works. It's so stupidly simple, somehow it works, right? And sometimes the thoughts are gone and I can immediately fall asleep. And sometimes I have to say it a couple times and I notice myself go off on a tangent again and I have to say it again. And since I've learned this and I've explained it to so many other people have come back to me and be like, oh my God, this actually works. I don't know why it works, but it works. So you could try this now. This is the way that you're going to do it, right? If you notice that you are, let's say for instance, you don't like your negative self-talk. You notice yourself talking shit to yourself and you're just your own worst enemy. Stop all the BS in the moment. And when you notice yourself lying to yourself and saying things that are rude and saying things, whatever that you don't want, just say out loud, that's not true. Stop lying to me. Once again, act like there's somebody else that's here. Stop lying to me. I don't accept the words you're saying. There's something really interesting that happens in the brain when you start talking out loud to yourself. It's not the same as because you're not in your brain anymore. Like in your brain can create infinite possibilities, right? But now when you speak out loud in the moment, you're in the moment. There's something to it. It becomes different, as if there is another person. So you find yourself negative self-talk. And nope, I don't accept the words that you're saying. That is not true. Don't talk about Rob that way. As if there is someone else, right? This is not disassociating, or there's no, you don't have to worry about disassociating fully from your body. But what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to change your pattern immediately in the moment. Because all too often we get stuck in a pattern, then we're off to the races, right? If you own, let's give a couple more examples, right? If you own a business and you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself about all of the ways your business might fail. I've done this before. And you start thinking about, oh my God, and what if this happens and revenues that come in and then I have to let go of people, but they have families and I don't want to let go of people. And that's a big responsibility. And so many people do this and their business fails because the only thing they ever think about is their business failing versus actually what they need to do to make it succeed. So it's like you might be thinking about your business failing and maybe you had a bad week last week and you start thinking to yourself, oh my God, I don't know if I can afford 2 or 3 more bad weeks. And so you're sitting inside of your retail shop now. The lights are on, you're paying the bills, everything is okay right now. But you're off in some really negative future. Stop the BS in the moment. And what you say to yourself is something like, this is not true. This is an imagined future. My business is running. Revenue is coming in. We're doing good. We'll be okay. And you actually start to talk out loud to yourself as if there was somebody else across the table from you saying, oh, well, your business is going to fail. Well, you're not going to be able to pay your bills. You're not going to be good enough. And whatever it might be, you act like you're talking to somebody that's across the table from you. Bring the facts to your brain to get yourself out of the imaginary. Your business is not failing right now. Your bills are paid. Bring it to the present moment where everything is fine, right? And that's the crazy part about our brain is that you're sitting in your retail shop. The lights are on. The bills are paid. You have a little bit of cash in the company bank account. The business is not failing. But for some reason, you're in your freaking head. Think about all of the ways the business could fail. So you get yourself out of it in the moment. Stop the bullshit. This is not true. This is an imagined future. I do not accept you talking about this. Everything is good. The lights are on. The bills are paid. Everything will be good. I'm a good business owner. I'll figure it out. And so you actually start to talk to yourself out loud to immediately change your pattern. If you're starting to get anxious about something, first off, anxiety comes from imagining the future. No one has anxiety because they're imagining an amazing future. You realize that, right? Nobody's like, oh my God, I have so much anxiety because my future seems so positive, right? They have anxiety because they're imagining a future that is scary. It is a defense mechanism. It makes sense. You can go back about a month or two ago and I did an episode on anxiety. Anxiety is a positive thing because it kept our species alive. But when it takes over your entire life, it's not a positive thing, right? So when you have anxiety, you're worrying about the future. You're not thinking about all of the amazing things that happen in the future. So you stop the bullshit in the moment. That future is not true. And you say to yourself out loud, that is not true. Right now, I am safe. Right now, I am 100% safe. Right now, I am grateful for this thing and this thing and this thing. Stop all the BS in the moment. You're imagining a future that does not actually align with reality. How often do people get anxiety when they're sitting on their couch in their living room when everything is fine? Like the exact second they're sitting in is fine. Not, oh, I have to pay bills next week. The exact second that they're sitting in is fine. But people can cause, and I've done this many times in my life, so I get it. They can cause so much anxiety when in the present moment, everything is okay. It might not be amazing and it might be what they want, but it is okay and they are safe. So you've got to learn to stop it while it's happening. You've got to learn to bring yourself to the present moment because you're not usually present because everything is fine in the present moment. You might say, oh, but I'm worrying about paying the bills next week. Yeah. When? Right now or next week? Next week. Okay. Well, you're not in the present moment. And guess what? I bet that if you're in a better mental state, you can probably come up with better solutions to make sure that you can pay your bills, right? Yeah, you can. Isn't that funny? When you're in a shitty mental state, it's really hard to start getting creative of how you can pay your bills. So in the present moment, the bills are not due. Next week, the bills are due. So, when your emotions are high, your logic is low. If you're really stressed and you're really anxious, you're not going to come up with really creative ideas of how you can pay your bills or what opportunities might be out there. Maybe you can, I could drive for Uber for a week and I could probably get the extra $200 that I need, right? You're not in the present moment. That's next week. In this present moment, I've done it before. I'm sitting there, I'm off in a distant land in my brain of just like shit going everywhere. And then I'm like, hold on. And I'm talking to myself out loud. Hold on. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, Rob. Rob, just shut up. Everything is fine. And I say this out loud to myself. You're fine. You're sitting on your fucking couch. And you've got air conditioning. And you've got everything is great. Your belly is full. You've got people that love you in your life. Shut up. Because you're not in the present moment. And it's like, sometimes it's like a rude awakening. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? The visual, for those of you guys that can't see me and you're not watching on YouTube, I shook my hands like I was holding on to somebody and shaking them. It's like the moment in Billy Madison where he takes the little chunky kid and he takes him by his face and he's like, don't ever say that. He like starts to shake him and his big old cheeks are moving all over the place. That's kind of what we're doing to ourselves. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch Billy Madison. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He's like, don't ever say that. And he's holding him and his little face is shaking. His cheeks are going all over the place. That's kind of what you're trying to do. You're trying to shake yourself awake and be like, get yourself back here. And worrying ain't going to pay your bills. Sorry, guys. I have never worried myself into making money. I've never worried myself into paying an electric bill. Being in this moment, being creative, being in a good space, mentally, physically, emotionally, will help me figure out how to take action to be able to pay the bills. And so it's really important for you to start talking out loud to yourself, to get yourself out of your head, because your head is always either in the future or it's in the past. Very rarely is it right here in this moment. But when you start talking out loud, speaking out loud is in this moment. So you talk to yourself, not right now. This is not true. Stop lying to yourself. This is imagined. You are safe right now. You are paying the bills. You will figure it out. You are smart. I know you can do this. Whatever it is that you need to say to yourself to get yourself out of your head, just remember the old phrase, when you're in your head, you're dead, right? You're off in a distant land, you're not helping yourself. But when you're here, you're in this present moment, you can figure out how to get done whatever it is you need to get done. And you can get yourself out of those anxious states, those stressful states that just take up so much of yourself. Because ultimately what we're doing is we're waking up, we're creating the boogeyman, we're fighting the boogeyman all day long. That's a lot of energy versus just waking up saying, what do I need to do today to get one step further in the life that I want to create, and then actually start taking those actions. So stop BSing yourself. That's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys actually sharing it. And so if you would like to help me and help us grow and impact more people, which is ultimately my life goal, please do me a favor. Share it on your Instagram stories. Share it with a friend, because that is the way that we grow the most. And we don't have any big company behind us backing us to try to put us out there. We don't have any billboards or ads or any of those types of things like other huge podcasts do. So if you would share it, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. It would really help us over here. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. Today, we're going to be talking about something called pronoia. We're going to talk about how the world, the universe, God, whatever it is that you want to call it, is conspiring to make your life amazing. Now, we've all heard the phrase paranoia, right? Paranoia is the thought that everyone and everything, the world is out to get you. And everyone's going to come in, they're conspiring to make your life terrible or to bring you down. That's what paranoia is. But did you know that there's a phrase that is the exact opposite of paranoia? If you didn't, it's pronoia. So instead of the world being against you, the world is for you. The world is conspiring to make your life amazing. And pronoia was actually coined by a sociologist named Fred Goldner in the 1980s. It's derived from the Greek words pro, meaning in favor of, and noia, which, comes from the Greek word for mind. And so it means that the world is conspiring to make your life amazing. And you might be listening to this and be like, woo woo, this sounds ridiculous. The world is on my side. Okay, whatever, dude. And it sounds naive and it sounds overly idealistic. I get it. But really what it comes down to is about having a mindset of proactive positivity. So viewing life's obstacles, everything that happens to you, good, bad, indifferent, as chances for growth and looking for the beneficial aspects of every situation. So instead of just saying like everything's amazing and being naive, it's like, hey, this thing that happened to me, it does suck, but I'm going to figure out a way to make it amazing. Like the way that I like to think about it is that I remember when I thought about my father passing away when I was 15, it was the worst day of my life, but it was also the best day of my life. And the reason why it was the best day of my life, because I said to myself, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I will not die with this being something that is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I will make it amazing. And so that's what pronoia really means, is that no matter what happens to you, no matter how challenging it might be, it really comes down to I'm going to make something of it. And it was brought to me as a lesson, something to learn from, to get better from. Going through your challenges is never easy. You're going to go through the rest of your life. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of more challenges that are going to be presented to you over the course of your lifetime. But are you grateful for your challenges? Like if you think about your challenges of the past, right, and you start to think about them, this is one thing I've really tried to make myself over the past couple of years get really good at, is becoming really grateful for my challenges. Because I used to look back at challenging things in life and being like, oh, that person fucked me over. That screwed me up. I really hated going through that. And I would look at challenges, like the hardest challenges of my life, through a very negative lens. And then I realized, and I'm curious with you, if you look at the most challenging moments of your life, you probably don't want to go back to them and relive it, but you would never want to take the lessons that you learned from the most challenging things in your life out of your brain, would you? No, because you learned, you got better, and you improved through it. And even though they're really hard to go through, you can now look at them and go, damn, I'm so glad I went through them because I'm so much wiser now. I'm so much better now after going through these things. And so really what it comes down to is looking at your challenges and saying, well, every challenge I've ever had in the past, even though it was hard, I'm grateful that I had them because it made me better. So the next time a challenge comes up, I can look at it and say, you know what? I don't want to be going through this, but I know that it's brought to me because it's my opportunity to learn and grow. And so you can start to look at your challenges differently. You can start to look at your life experiences differently, good or bad. It's not always easy to go through things, but it's easier if you know that something great will come from it. Like I haven't really talked about it at all, and I'm not going to talk about it publicly, but I have gone through a situation where a company owes me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I could sit here and I could be pissed off and I could be like, fuck them. And I could try to throw them under the bus and all of these things. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. He's like, man, I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. This is terrible. I was talking with someone today and she was like, I'm so mad for you. And I was like, listen, it's not the best thing to go through. I'm not super stoked about it. But I trust that I have to learn this lesson now, because if I were to learn it in 10 years, it would be a much bigger situation. And so I have to learn this now with it being this amount of money instead of 10 times the amount of money that is now. And so not something I want to be going through. Not super stoked about it. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, you know what? I had to learn this lesson. There's a reason why. And I trust, because I really, truly do trust with every fiber of myself that this is a lesson I have to learn for some reason, for something coming up in the future. And so if I can look at it that way, I can go, you know what? It is challenging, but every challenge has made me better, and this is going to make me better. So you have the challenge in your life, you have the life experiences, you have people in your life, you have people that you love, you have the ones that are really freaking difficult. You can look at all of those things and you can look at all of them, you can think of them through this lens and go, man, I'm so thankful for all of it. I'm so thankful for all of it. There's somebody in my family who has paranoia disorder. Since he was little, he's always thought that the world was out to get him. And he would always even check candy. When he was a little kid, he would check candy after they went, trick-or-treating, because he was afraid that someone had put something in there to try to, put a razor in there to try to kill him. And so he's always had this paranoia disorder. And, what if we became addicted to a thought process of thinking that the world is actually for us? How much would that change it? Because there's some people that are addicted, they're fully addicted to thinking that the world is against them. And when they think that the world is against them, they think that something's wrong, what happens is their body is in constant stress. Their body is in constant anxiety. There's adrenaline rushing through the body. There's cortisol rushing through the body. And it's that thought process of the world is out to get me. Someone's trying to screw me over. There's no good people in the world. That thought process is not only our brain going through it, but it's putting our body through a lot of unnecessary stress. Can we become addicted to another thought process that creates the chemicals that we want? And really, that's what I'm trying to focus on. And so let's go over a couple keys that will help you get a little bit better at developing this muscle, this skill set of pronoia, because I don't expect anybody to be perfect at this. You're not going to listen to this one time and be like, you know what? Forever, my viewpoint has been changed. There's going to be times we're going to get ourselves caught. And so it's how do we get ourselves to be better at this thing? First thing I'll recommend is to cultivate gratitude. If you were listening to one of the episodes that I just put out this week, I talk about how to actually be happier. And one of the ways to be happier is to just be grateful for what you have, is to not want more things and be like, I got to get more things that I don't have. It's not wanting what you don't have. It's wanting what you do have and being grateful for it. And so one of the aspects that will help you develop this muscle of seeing that the world is actually here to help you is trying to develop the muscle of gratitude. That's the first thing. The second thing is to start to embrace the challenges. One of the worst things you can do when a challenge comes is to try to fight the challenge. Because here's the one thing that I've realized. The more that I fight something that is challenging, the more challenging it becomes. And the more that I can go, you know what? Here's a challenge. I'm going through this thing. And you know what? I'm gonna try to realize that, because I believe that every single challenge is a lesson. And so as I'm going through the challenge, I'm gonna go, okay, damn, this is really challenging. I don't want to be going through it, but I am going through it. I might as well, if I'm going through it, I might as well extract all of the lessons that I can from it. Because I could just white knuckle my way through the entire thing, be like, I got to get through this challenge. Or I could say, you know what, I'm going through this challenge. There's a lot of wisdom in every single challenge that's available for me. what wisdom is here for me right now? And so the next thing is to try to embrace your challenges. The third thing is to practice mindfulness more often. More than anything else, I noticed that with mindfulness, it doesn't just have to be meditation. It doesn't have to be, sitting out in a forest and being under a tree and, then hugging the tree and becoming a tree hugger, any of that type of stuff. What it comes down to with practicing mindfulness is being present in every single moment and not allowing our brain to run rampant all over the place. And so really what it comes down to is practicing mindfulness is bringing our brain to the present moment as often as possible. This could be as simple as, like when you're washing your hands after you go to the bathroom. Start developing the habit of trying to bring your brain and all of your senses to that moment. Start noticing the warm water, start noticing the smell of the soap, start noticing everything that you possibly can, right? When you're walking up the stairs, notice what it feels like on your legs and under your feet, the carpet under your feet. And when you really start to do the mundane things and you can be as present as possible, you'll be much more present anytime that you do have challenges in front of you or any of that stuff. How does this help with pronoia? Well, then when you're in the moment, you're in all of these challenges, instead of just being in the future and being completely out of your head, it allows you to bring yourself to the present moment and actually start to see how can I get better? How can I improve? How can I get as many lessons as possible as I possibly can from this? Okay, that's the third one. And the fourth one to help with pronoia, which is kind of outside the box, is to start celebrating others. Or let's show you the fourth one. I've got a fifth one, I just realized. So the fourth one is to celebrate others. And what I mean by that is a lot of times what gets in the way of thinking that the universe is on our side is sitting there and going, well, I should be here. I should have this by now, right? Oh, I don't know why I'm not there yet. There's something wrong with me. Oh, look at her. She's got this and I don't have this. And then we get jealous of somebody else. All of these things and this attitude is keeping us further away from what it is that we want in the life that we want. So if we can start to celebrate others and see someone else's success and think, hell yeah, man, that's awesome. I remember I used to be younger and I would see people on Instagram that had things that I wanted, like a car, or had the business that I wanted, or had a house, or whatever it was. They were traveling somewhere that I wanted to go to. I'd be like, man, that sucks. And I'd be pissed off and jealous that they had this thing. Now I've just realized it's way easier if I'm just like, hell yeah, congratulations. Me too one day. I will have that as well one day. I will get there one day. But when you have jealousy towards somebody, it actually keeps you further, that energy of jealousy keeps you further away and distances you more from the thing that you actually want. And so how can you start to celebrate others more and develop that and help you with pronoia? And then the fifth one, which is now the last one on this one, is to start getting better at positive affirmations. I when I was younger, had somebody that came in, and when I was like 19, 20 years old, there's a guy that came in to speak at the company that I worked at. And he was very successful, and I was not. And he had said something about developing positive affirmations and more self-love. And so what he said, and I didn't have much confidence at this point in time in my life, what he said was that every single morning after he gets out of the shower, he looks at himself in the mirror and he says, I love you, looking in his own eyes at least 100 times. And I was like, well, this guy's got a lot of money and I don't, and he's successful and I want to be there. So maybe I should do what he does. And what I realized as I started doing it is that the more that I started doing it, the more I actually started to rewire my own thoughts about myself. And I went from not being confident to being much more confident simply because I started to actually change the way that I thought about myself. I've been really taken aback recently with all the messages I get of how many people just talk so much shit to themselves. And it's like, life is already hard. Being an asshole to yourself just makes it so much harder. And so why don't you actually try to rewire that negativity out of your brain by using positive affirmations as well, right? Okay, so let's talk about 3 benefits of actually having pronoia in your life. When you adopt this outlook, you can really start to have a profoundly positive impact in your mental state, but also your emotional well-being as well. So how does this actually help you besides making your life better in a million different ways? Number one, it will actually start to reduce your stress and anxiety. By taking all of these different adversities and reframing adversities into opportunities, your pronoia can help you reduce your anxiety, because usually when we have anxiety, it's that we have fear of going into the future. There's something that's coming up for us that we are afraid of, that the anxiety is our body's anticipation of fear in the future. Right? And so what we're doing is we're actually saying to ourselves, this is something good that's going to be happening in the future. That will reduce your stress and your anxiety immensely. So when we believe that the universe, the world is on our side, we can start to approach every situation, every single challenge, everything that's coming up in our future in a sense of really being much more calm. So that's the first thing. Second thing it does is it will 100% boost your happiness and your optimism. Pronoia really fosters a positive outlook in your life. And once again, positive outlook doesn't mean that you're resisting and not seeing the negative. It means that you're turning every single negative or searching for a way for every single negative to actually turn into a positive. And so you're really cultivating a sense of joy and happiness and satisfaction in your life. And the third thing that it will do, you will be much more resilient than other people. Pronoia really helps you develop resilience and the ability to bounce back from adversity and not be taken down by so many different things. And by viewing your challenges as opportunities for you to grow, for you to become better at every single up and down that you get, you become more resilient. The people who are not resilient are the ones who get, they're just like I don't know why the thing that popped in my head was like a beach umbrella, because I've been to the beach many times and you always see like the people who, there's always one tourist whose umbrella just the wind comes and they're chasing their umbrella down the beach, right? It's like when you're not resilient and you're in life, everything, woe is me, everything happens to me, the world is out to get me. It's like the smallest little breeze can just knock you over. And so when you actually decide, you know what, no matter what happens to me, I'm going to find a way to make something amazing from it, it makes you more resilient. It makes you much more resilient in every single thing. Are you looking for the lessons in your life? Are you looking for all of the opportunities in the shit? Are you trying to see how the universe is on your side? If you really just take a step back, you can start to connect the dots and see that there are many things that are happening around you that are trying to help you improve and get better. You just have to start to look for it more. And that is viewing the world through the lens of pronoia. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And once again, if you want to pre-order my book, it really, really helps when you pre-order the book because it counts for the first week of sales and then allows us to hit the bestseller list whenever that happens. All you got to do is go to robdial.com/book. And once again, with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing